Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Warriors Season 3 finale. Great finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, that opening. When we saw Eliza again, I was like, no way. Because that happened, episode 4 when Eliza basically got her locked up. So I was like, it's been over half of the season. It's the season finale when you finally get your get back. Interesting time to get your get back, especially considering you kind of have nothing. Because you no longer have Leong. The Long Z is a shadow of its former self now, especially because you killed off most of the elders. And they even talk about it later on. Even aside from just the ending, a lot of the Long Z have kind of bailed on her. She did have quite a few with her, but I love her telling Eliza, sit down. And Eliza's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, shh. This ain't a conversation. I'm going to tell you what happened. Like, the first and foremost, I made a promise to myself that I would never allow a man to have control over me, that I would never go back to being someone's whore. And it's like, and I followed that for so long, but I made the mistake with you. You know exactly who your husband is. Like, the fact of the matter is, I'm sure I am not the first woman that he's tried to hook up. You know him. You know when he comes home, his dick smelling like another woman. You know, but you stay with him because all of this is yours. So you put up with all the cheating. You yourself have been treated like a whore. So that's why she lashed out at Mai Ling, because it's like, at the end of the day, I know this is going on, but this is a Chinese woman. It's a lot easier to kind of take all my frustrations out on her because she's less than nothing in your eyes. Once again, Mai Ling was always an oddity, so it's easier just to kind of remove her from the situation. Whereas all the other women, like, you can't really do much, but you could do something about Mai Ling without it being an issue because, oh, she's a Chinese woman. Like, who's going to believe her? Who's going to listen to her? So, but Mai Ling is like, right. But what it comes down to, also why you lashed out at me, is because you yourself feel like a whore. Like, you hate yourself because you hate him so much, but you can't do anything about it. So that makes you feel even cheaper in your own eyes. And it's like, here, I'm going to give you this blade. When you can't take it anymore, when it becomes too much, here, this is a gift to you, and bounces. I was like, yo. So eventually she will end up like snapping and killing him. So it would have been easier for Mai Ling to do it, but it's like, no, I'm not going to dirty my hands on it. You will. You have to continue to live with that shame until you yourself have had enough, because Mai Ling's been in her shoes. It's like, I grew stronger from my experience, so let's see what happens to you, especially when you're in a position where none of this is yours. You are just kind of like, you're his wife, but you're more his plaything that he gets to screw around and do whatever he wants to, but you can't put up too much fuss because this is all his, and he could easily take it all away from you. So we have that. We catch up with the Leary situation. I even love the guy who got it the hardest. The dude who basically, a new version of a curb stomp. That dude, turns out he used to work at the Force, because I love the dude and, Bill look and go like, holy shit, that is that dude. Wasn't he working for Strickland or something? I heard he was working security. But, well, has anyone seen Leary? It's like, no. Leary's going to go deal with your boy, and I love that he's waiting, like, because Leary's just waiting on, not Leary, Douglas is just waiting on a word about what happened with Leary, which I'm like, how did you expect that to go? Did you really think your men were going to be able to top Leary? It's like, men's a fighter. Once again, he said it last episode. You haven't even seen the gangster, and we saw how gangster he can get. We've always known, but that was some hardcore shit last episode. But now you add in the fact is, I brought it up, Nelly and Atoy are coming for that ass too, and they end up getting there before Leary does. I mean, Leary was fortunate enough that it's like, right, it was always already dealt with. He didn't even have to get his hands dirty. Luckily, Bill came there to stop him and be like, no, I'm the police chief now. You wanted me in this position. I'm going to do right by trying to do the right thing. A man like Strickland deserves to go to jail. But it's like, yeah, but you can't like do anything. He's too powerful. He will just get away. But don't worry about it. Atoy got her get back. I love Nelly was there being like, oh, do I look like I'm afraid of you? And I love Atoy humiliated him, because it's the inverse. Because it's like, oh, you thought this was going to go down like it did with Lai. It's like, no, sadly, Lai is skilled, but she's not as skilled as Atoy is with a blade. Atoy made him making it look like child's play, like how he made it look going up against Lai, because she was a fledgling. Atoy is Mama Bird, and she took care of business. The sad thing is, even with Strickland dead, it didn't fill that void in her. It's like once you get revenge, it's like all that anger and sadness, that's all she had. And now it's like, what do I have outside of that now that I've gotten my revenge? Because I kept going back and forth of like, is Lai dead? And it seems, yes, she is. Because I was watching someone who was kind of disgusted. They were like, right, they're most likely just dead. You know, it's just a ceremonial thing of like cleaning up her body before they bury her. So that's all. I mean, just kind of like, even in a sense of like, a mortician, like, doing to a body regardless, it's kind of like that in any capacity. But yeah, Lai is gone. I kept going back and forth. I wasn't sure, but it's like, no, she definitely is dead. Because I think I was holding out hope because I saw like her eye kind of open a little, but I think that's just kind of like how she died. I think that's just how it is. So it's like, yeah, they were just prepping her body for burial. I don't know if they're going to like send her back to China, like some of the other situations. I don't know if Atoy would just, not unless she buries her in like the remnants of Sonoma. That might be where Lai ends up being buried, because I'm sure all the other women they were definitely buried there, weren't they? So I'm assuming Lai would be buried with the rest of them, like any of the women that died in Sonoma. But it's like, yeah, I love that Bill and Larry show up in time to see the whole thing play out. Bill definitely saw Atoy. He knows her enough. They've interacted enough. Like, he might have been far away and it is dark, so maybe he actually didn't see it. He said he couldn't tell who it was. He doesn't know Nelly, but he definitely knows Atoy. So I'm curious if he kind of let her go, because I thought it was interesting, because obviously he didn't care last season. Like, he just wanted to take down his swordsman, and he needed a person, so he was fine putting it all on Zing because he needed Zing removed from the picture anyway. But now he knows, the swordsman was Atoy. If he got a good enough, like I said, it's hard to say whether or not Bill legitimately didn't see her face, or just like, nah, Atoy, and so, right, she got what she wanted, and like, turns out, she's the swordsman. We'll see. Well, in the future, will probably tell us maybe whether or not that is the case or not, like whether or not he knows. Because like that could go either way, where he's just like, I actually didn't see it, or maybe I did and I just chose not to because I do owe Atoy. She's always been good to me, so. But yeah, it's just kind of like, cool, what do we do? And Leary's like, yeah, we gotta get rid of the body. It's like, no, I'm the police chief. I'll investigate. Like, I'll tell my word. It's like, yeah, but your word won't really mean anything. I look like the obvious suspect. I killed this man. Yeah, it was in self-defense or whatever. It doesn't matter. I also blew up his bridge. So they ended up burning the body. I think that was at his brother-in-law's place, like his business. I think that's where they were burning the body, I think. So it's like, cool. Which super works for Atoy, because that's not another body that ends up having to be investigated with slash marks all over, because then it brings up the swordsman's still around. To be fair, jumping ahead a little bit, we know Zing's out and about, like maybe word's gotten out that he escaped prison, so it could still fall on Zing, but it works out tremendously for Atoy in the long run. So, I mean, the last time we see her in this episode is our whole her and Nelly thing. Now the question is, what are they going to do now? Like, for her, it's like, Lai saved my life. She kind of gave me something else. I think she gave me something else worth fighting for me. Like, that Sonoma dream became something even more viable than what Atoy was planning. So what does she do? Like, she's been kind of lost ever since Sonoma, and I think, like, obviously losing Lai sent her even further down spiraling. So at least she's not alone. She has Nelly. So where they go from here, we'll ultimately have to wait and see. But I am curious to see, is she still going to, because I'm assuming she put everything in Sonoma. I don't know if she still owns even that land that she was going to own to try and make it so, like, right, Chinese people can own land when the time comes that we can own land. Like, I don't know if that's still even applicable anymore. I don't know if she really did anything with all that land the moment that, like, properties and stuff, the moment she got it back. Because I don't think any of that went towards the Sonoma stuff. It's just like, no, because that was like a separate thing. So I think that stuff might still be in her hands, that she might kind of be able to put that. No, because I think, didn't she put all that in Nelly's name regardless? That's why I'm like, I don't know where all of that currently stands. I love the beautiful situation of everyone getting locked and loaded for the fight. Like, we cutting back and forth between, like, the police and Happy Jack's people. So you're like, oh boy. I was like, how is this going to play out? Because I wasn't sure like whether they were going to show up at the same time, which ends up being the case, or whether they got there first. I love that your boy, I guess that was his plan, because it's like, oh, all I got to do is get you to show up at the same time the cops do. But I love that freaking Chow didn't bother telling, and at least hit Assam up. But it's like, to be fair, he didn't see Assam the entire day, so I guess he didn't have time to really. He didn't want to be suspicious, so he couldn't really contact Assam, considering all this was going down like the next morning. It was very last minute, always ready to strike a deal with the kind of self-preservation and all that. So I can only assume like, that was always Chow's plan of, I want you to show up at the same time as a cop. That way it's a win-win. I help out Assam in his situation. He gets Yeonmi out, and it all kind of hopefully works out. So I love that he shows up there and Hong's there. I was like, oh, you being here is kind of a bad issue. And especially later on when I'm like, Yeonmi isn't there. They're going to assume, oh, the police showed up and so did Happy Jack's people. It's like, oh, Yeonmi sold us out. It's like, immediately you're like, that's what the narrative is going to be. Because she knew kind of what time it was. That's why when she eventually does get out, she's like, I'm going to go home and try and pack and leave as quickly as possible. But anyway, I was not sure how that showdown was going to go. I was like, okay, Assam's got the plate. How is this going to go down? And it turns into a free-for-all for these plates. Happy Jack's number 2 guy, the guy who's running things now, takes off the plates. Assam goes after him, takes him down. I was scared that when he was talking to Lee, because last time we saw Hong, he was pulling out his chain. I was like, oh, or his necklace. I was like, oh, please. Oh, God, Hong is going to be there. He's going to overhear everything. But then he didn't. I was like, oh, Hong didn't hear that. Thank God. Okay, the deal went through, because regardless of it all, Lee's like, whoa, did you set me up? He's like, I don't know about the Happy Jack. Here, Happy Jack's people. Here's the plate. So it's like, right, I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain, which ultimately does. He does feel bad, because at the end of the day, I use someone like Yeonmi. It's like, yeah, she might be a criminal, but at the end of the day, you don't know her circumstances. She was kind of like, she kind of went to them, so it's not like she's a fully innocent bystander, but it's still a thing of, yeah, she might be a criminal making money for, it's still, you're guilt by association, because you're still, counterfeiting money for a Chinese gang, as a tong. So it's like, yeah, but it's still like she is an innocent bystander in some capacity. So, I mean, we know Yami's circumstances and story. Because even Lee's like, yeah, us doing this, like, we are putting a target on her back because of the tongs, which mostly is like, kind of almost like she deserves it. She got in business with them. A criminal's a criminal. So the two of them go their separate ways. He's promising to handle the Lee thing, which I guess he's going to be a man of his word. Once again, I'm super surprised he was alive. After that bullet, like, straight across his face, I was like, people had said like, oh, Mosley's still alive. I was like, what? No, he's not. He's dead. And he shows up. Oh, he super was alive. He, what was the phrase again? Oh God, I forgot that phrase. It was so good. It was something with the ghost or something like that. Like, oh yeah, like the ghost almost got, I'm butchering it. I forgot what it was, but I love the phrasing. But it's like, okay, so Mosley's gone. Lee's still sticking around, and him and Bill talk later on. It's like, okay, so what's going to happen going forward? It's like, for Bill, it's like, being chief it feels like, yeah, it's all that he wanted. He wanted to think like, right, I become chief, I get to do more good, but now I still have to deal with the fact is that I'm kind of caught in the middle of so much crap. Because it's like, yeah, the more crap I have to shovel through, the higher I go, because he still has to like answer to, Buckley, which Buckley wasn't too happy, because the moment he found out about the counterfeiting, he wanted to warn Mylene, because it's like, yeah, we are partners, and I don't know what that partnership stands at the end of this season, but he helped her out, because he's like, right, you didn't want to tell me about the counterfeiting because you knew I was going to get a little slice of that pie. So, but it's like, hey, I didn't want you caught up in all this, so I'm warning you. You should have let me know earlier. I could have protected you, but you already knew, like, you didn't want to give any more leeway or power to me, because she was already in his debt for getting her out of prison, so she didn't want to be even more in his debt. So she was trying to do everything she could to, like, build up enough power and everything, because she made the whole promise of, like, right, let me do my thing. I'm going to take over the Hopway's territory, and it all works out for you in the long run. So Once again, those ambitions amounted to nothing now at the end of the season. Once again, she has literally nothing, but not really nothing, but we'll get to that at the end. You have Yeon-mi trying to go home. Well, let me finish up the Bill stuff really quickly before I circle back to Yeon-mi. Bill and Lee have this whole conversation about kind of what's going forward, and Lee does say like, yo, if I do come back, things would have to change, which I'm like, I figured as much, because I think for Lee, it's just like, right, that federal job didn't sit well with him, but now it's like, right, Bill, seeing the good work that Bill's doing, what Bill wants to try and do. It's like, right, I've heard that before of like the good we can do, because Bill strayed so far along that path. I mean, granted, it still sucks that he covered up the Strickland thing, but at the same time, I won't even say like, oh, good because it's for Leary. I'm saying it's good because it benefited Ato and Nelly. It helped them out actually a lot. That benefited them a lot, probably just as much as it did Leary, if not more so, because of the ramifications of what that could be in the long run. So I'm not going to hold that 100% again, because Bill's been a good cop. Like, I don't think he's been... I'm trying to actually remember. I don't think Bill's made any racist remarks over the course of this season or whatever. I don't think he's been racist at all. I think he's actually been pretty chill. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't really strolled through Chinatown too much this season. Because he's been on the up and up, especially because he was trying to, like, you know, get the chief position and stuff. So he was on his best behavior because he was trying to get his family back, which now it's like, hey, you're chief, you got your family back, and you got your partner Lee back, especially because you know amongst, like, the men you've worked with, you know they're good people, but especially Lee, you know he's a good cop, and Lee's going to keep you even more on a straight and narrow like he always has. Granted, that hasn't always worked out, but I think you're a different person, you've grown and you've changed. Lee's got a little jaded edge to him, kind of has for a while now, but I think he's kind of swinging back into the more optimistic side of things, because Lee has always kind of been the optimist. He's always had that good nature to him, despite the bad that he's done. So I'm curious to see how that plays out with Lee back on the force and what that means. Because for him, it's like, right, I want to do good. I don't want to like basically get water for a man like Buckley, nor do I want to go busting heads in Chinatown. So I could, and once again, we've seen that that's not really been Bill saying. That was Atwood's thing, kind of really doing all that the way he went after Young June and the Hopway. But the fact of the matter is, when it's all said and done, Bill hasn't done that this season, so I could definitely see that going forward. I could see him not doing that either, so... Now circling back to the Yeon-mi of it all, she did try to go to her father. I love that her brother's not there, because I guess maybe she was going to look for her brother, but it's kind of like, that's not worth it. She was trying to at least get her father out of town, but he wasn't going to go because he built this place. He had something of his own, and he wasn't going to run away from it. But for her, and I love that speech from her where it's like, you came to this country because you wanted a better life for yourself. But since the day I was born, you've mapped out what my life was going to be, because who was going to be the successor to that place, despite her being the more skilled person, it was still going to go to her brother. Once again, it's like boys have more legitimacy, like kind of take over the family business than girls, like specifically, and especially in this time frame across all cultures at this point in time, right? So... But for Yeon-mi, it's like, that's why I did what I needed to do, because I needed to be able to make my own choice. That's everything I've done is because I want to forge my own life. And her dad just says, like, goodbye to her. Like, he does regret things turning out this way, because I think it makes him reflect on everything. Like, I wish I had done things differently. Maybe you wouldn't have been forced to, like, do, like, if I hadn't been so adamant about kind of being stuck in my way of view and my way of seeing things, then maybe things wouldn't have turned out this way. But, you know... I was scared the entire time. I was like, oh God, Yeon-mi's going to get caught. Like someone from the Hopway is going to see her. But they didn't, because they're not looking for Yeon-mi. Because Assam got knocked out. I was like, oh God, this is not going to work out. We see Chow was going to take some of the money, but he put it all back. I was like, he's going to hand that over. He's not taking any of it, because he feels bad for that situation, because he sees the young love situation. So... he sees Assam trying to do the right thing, trying to make the best decision possible that he can, and it's like, I really want things to kind of work out, so he does want to help. But but the Hopway aren't looking for Yeon-mi. The person they're looking for, they think Mai Ling screwed them over, which viable option, because I even love Assam was almost like, oh, okay. It's like, it actually kind of works out because they're not even looking for Yami. You would have thought it all went to her, but it's like, no, Mai Ling makes the most sense because she's always been trying to take down the Hopway, and she's always benefited of like, oh, like none of the bulls came and put pressure on her, only the Hopway territory. So it's like, yeah, here we are getting screwed. It's got to be Mai Ling, but she's also in a weaker state now. We got to go for it. But Sam's like, that's my sister. Like we don't have to do this. And it finally comes to a head. It's like, Assam has to choose between the Hopway or his sister, and he chooses his sister. It's like, she is my family. And I even love that line from Young Jun. No one should ever have to kill their family. You know, that coming from the person who has to live with the fact is he killed his dad. Regardless of the reasoning, even if his father asked him to do it, it's still the thing of he's got to carry for the rest of his life. I'm the one who killed my dad. So, but your boy Assam was like, all right, you know, the Hopway are gathered around, and it's like, how do you guys think this is going to go? No matter how skilled Hong is, no matter how skilled Young Jun is, Assam is your best fighter. Once again, that's like last episode when anyone from the Hopway, first and foremost, Home Dude who came up to Leon was almost like, motherfucker, who do you think I am? And had to, like, basically, like, I could have fucked you up. It's like, we've seen him whoop your asses in training, and he kind of goes a little hard against you in training. This is serious, and you expect him, like, what? Like, that's why I'm like, both the Hopway and the Longzi are stupid to think these are your best fighters, and you're going to try and none of you can compare. Even Hong and Young Jun, 2-1, and he still whooped that ass. I love the moment he's like taking everybody. He's not trying to kill anybody. He's injuring someone, like he breaks a leg here and there. Then he picks up the nunchucks, 2 of them, does his thing, whooping ass all across the board, and then he goes to get him versus Young Jun and Hong. And I love the whole, I would have done anything for you. It's like, you know, despite that, here we are. It's like, here we are. And they go toe to toe. And Assam is getting sliced. I was scared because I was like, dude, this could end badly. I don't see him killing Hong, but he could accidentally end up killing Young Jun in the middle of this fight. I didn't know how this was going to go. Felt a little Squid Game-ish, you know? Well, obviously no spoilers if you haven't seen Squid Game, but it kind of felt a little like, oh, this could get dicey. Like, I didn't expect it to end like Squid Game did, because I was like, no, that ain't gonna happen. Trust me. But it's like, I felt that it was kind of like that, you know, brothers versus brothers. Like, this is a tragic situation of like, it has come down to this. Assam stabbed, sliced up, and it's like, right, I know you would kill her, but are you really gonna die for her? And Assam's like, not dying today. Doing everything he can. I think he kind of did the whole, like, what's that punch called? Like, you do your fingers and then you turn it into a fist. I think he did that against Hong and kind of flew him against the, came down to a 1-1. And once again, I always love those type of things. It's like, it's the most, like, I always associate it with anime because I see it the most there when it's like, yo, we're both wounded and none of us have like the strength and stamina to go full out. But it's like Young Jun is kind of crawling, just like swiping the blade, and Assam's just trying to stop him and gets on top of him. And it's like, end it. Go ahead and do it. And Assam just knocks him out because regardless of it all, I'm not here to kill you, Young Jun. Regardless of our issues and our situation now, you are like a brother to me. You were family to me for so long. And it is sad that it's come down to this. But I like at the end, that's this, blood is thicker than water. I know that's not the actual phrase. The phrase is something else, but I'm going to attribute it to the way I've always heard the phrase. And so I'm just like, yeah, blood happens to be thicker than water in this situation. He ends up choosing his sister, walking down the street injured. And you see a few people poking their heads out looking like, you know, we know how the citizens of Chinatown feel about Assam. I was curious to see how that was going to play out. Like, would anyone kind of help him? But they were just like, that's Tong business, and we're staying the hell out of Tong business. But he's limping, and at the same time that's all going down, Mai Ling is fighting for her life because, yo, Liang's not around, so, and the Longzi, I guess, those who are around are dead. The others just abandoned her, so she had no one. Luckily, she had that pistol ready, blasting fools. Got a knife to the leg. It's like, dude, this is not good. This is not good. Home dude tried to drown her. She luckily got the knife. I was like, didn't you give? I was like, well, good thing it's not the only knife. I was about to say it would suck if you were reaching for the knife that you gave Eliza at the beginning of the episode. It's like, no. She's got another knife in her boot. The moment Assam got there, the way the camera focused on him, I was like, don't tell me he got there too late. And for a second, I thought he did. I was like, no! Like, regardless of it, and I'm not going to mince words. I've said it time and time again. Mai Ling's circumstances are born of her own decisions, her ambition, her like, once again, Li Yong stood by you every step of the way, despite you lying to his face, making so many decisions behind his back. Like, if you were more like, and once again, it's just, Mai Ling is a byproduct of her environment. Like, the fact is, she is so scared of ever losing power again because of her the circumstances, everything that she's been through. She never wants, as she made it clear with the Eliza thing, I never want to be a whore again. I never want to be under someone else's power. If anyone's going to have all the power, it's going to be me. Considering everything she's gone through, she's had a tough life. It doesn't justify all that she's done, because she's done some villainous shit, but it is still that amazing, great aspect of this character where it's like, you understand. That is what makes a villain so compelling, is when you're like, I don't agree with what you've done. I think you got a little too impulsive in some regards, but I understand the psychology of why. Like, everything you've been through, the trauma you've been through, it made you who you are. It made you the bad guy that you are. And so, and I'm sure, and I even love, like, I saw a short where the actress who plays Mai Ling is like, and people label her as a villain. I wouldn't call her a villain. It's like, yeah, like, I love it. I love it when actors really have to, like, really defend their characters. But especially in her case, it's like, in her mind, it's like, I'm sure even she would view it as like, Mai Ling's not a villain. She's a survivor. Like, it's not, this world isn't about something as arbitrary as good and bad. It's just people surviving, doing whatever they can. That's what it comes down to. I mean, don't get it twisted. There is good and there is evil. Like, we've seen it time and time again in this show. But luckily Assam got there, and even Mai Ling had the knife out because she was scared. Like, are you about to kill me too, bro? And it's like, despite everything, despite the animosity, I mean, he went to her wedding and he was happy for her that she got married. For him to, like, the final shot between them, even before, like, we got the title card afterwards, him holding her as she's crying because it's like she almost died. Once again, she has nothing. All she has is her brother, and even he has nothing. For them to be where they are, considering everything, like him coming into this Hopway situation at the beginning of the series, well, joining the Hopway at the beginning of the series, her being so, like, power hungry, and for so long building up all that power and to have it all wiped away, she has nothing at the end of the show, is so wild. So now the question is, where do they go from here? Because are they going to stay in Chinatown? Because where else will they go? Well, wherever they go together. And that was my big thing of, like, I figured maybe Assam and Mai Ling would be on the same side together. I was like, maybe he'd end up joining the Long Z, but it's like, that's not even an option. They're both on their own. But I think there's beauty in that. That I was like, right, they've lost everything along the way, but they still have each other, you know? Despite the blood feud that's kind of going on between them. I mean, their blood feud is kind of fueled and made so much happen here in Chinatown, and so for it to kind of end this way is wild. And for that to be like the last shot before we even get the I wouldn't even call it like a post credits or mid credits, because it happened before the credit. Like, all you got was a title card credit, and then it showed you the little stinger with Leong, where the rest of the the Long Z have fallen in line with him. So I don't know if that means like the Long Z now follows him, as in the regards of the Long Z is now him, or whether they're not, do they consider themselves the Long Z anymore? I mean, just like Kong Pak said, it's like, right, they would follow him, and I mean, it all worked out for him. Granted, that comes with some complications because, hey, let's circle back a little bit. We got your boy Chow doing the right thing. He shows up to Yami, and it's like, right, either Assam is dead or he's in a situation where he can't be here, but he would want you to go, so go. This is your second chance. Like, he wanted this money to go to you, so you go. You have a chance to kind of start over, so take it. And he's like, I get the feeling you have of, like, I've been in your shoes of, because he left behind everyone when he escaped Cuba. So he understands what it's like to leave people behind. Like, no, I don't want to do that, but not having a choice. He's talked about it. He still thinks about those who were left behind in Cuba. So, but he's like, if you do this, you'll be able to kind of start over, and this amount of money will help. And, she's like, if you see Assam, tell him, and just, Chow's like, I know, I will. And for this to kind of be the end, it's kind of sad that I was kind of figuring I thought that either Assam would, like, be there but kind of have to wave her goodbye. It's like, this is better, because, I mean, granted, he doesn't have anything to go back to. He's already burned the bridges and that's not even on for Yami. That was also for his sister's sake. So And I think that speaks volume. Once again, he could have left his sister to her own devices because everything that's happening to her, she brought upon herself, and he could have gone off to his happily ever after. He could have left with Yami, but he chose to go after his sister. So at least she's taking care. At least Yami's taking care. The Hopway weren't even going to go after her, so she was fine either way. But he knows what that means, but he's more so focused on saving his sister. And lo and behold, someone starts creeping up on Chow. I completely forgot Happy Jack's dude died earlier in the episode when Assam. I forgot Assam had killed him, so I thought that was him, and it ends up being your boy Zing. I was like, beautiful, beautiful stinger, considering season 2 stinger was him, potentially escaping from prison, and for him to stab up Chow, I'm like, yo, Chow, how you been? So I was like, right, number 1 target off my list. There's still more. I'm sure he'd come after Mylene, but obviously he wants Bill, and he definitely sure as hell wants Leon, which, Leon's kind of doing his own thing now. I love that Zing's, I guess he's just been creeping around this entire time. I love that, because I was like, are we not, because obviously, once again, haven't looked into it. I'll probably read up more on about it, why, I don't know, the actress who plays Penny, whether or not she was just maybe schedule conflicting, so she couldn't be in this season at all, and so maybe in the future that's a storyline they could push, considering if things change, or what did they just was she just completely written out for whatever reason, or is it just the actress wasn't available so they had to write around her this season? Because she's still locked up in the asylum, like there was a single line of dialogue from Buckley that kind of talked about that, but it's yeah, they're all in good positions. Leong's in a good position. Bill's in a good position. But man, Zing's beef is mainly with Chow and Leong because they did what they did. But Bill is still the one who arrested you and took you down. So he's going to get some of that as well. I can't wait because I hope Lee is able to get his get back. It's remember that ass whooping you gave me back in episode 9 of season 1? Yeah, let me get some of that get back. I hope that. I get so excited when everyone gets their get back. So it's is Chow dead? I don't think so. He got fucked up, but I think Chow's going to be fine because Chow is who he is. He is a survivor, having gone through everything because he's also I consider Chow a fan favorite of the show. I think most people love Chow because of just who he is. Yeah, he's that scoundrel, but he's that scoundrel you love. I'm also super biased because I love Hoon Lee. I've been a big fan of Hoon Lee since Banshee, I loved him as Job, and so I've been a big fan of Hoon Lee since, so I'm always going to be a little more endeared to any character he plays. So I'm always going to be rooting for Chow just because of Hoon Lee. But I don't think you can count him out. This man has been through so much that he's always managed to find a way out. So hopefully, I'm not even going to say hopefully. I think he's going to be okay, but I could easily be proven wrong. And since I brought up our boy Buckley, he's so excited, so in love, going for the governorship. He wants Catherine by his side. And she's like, oh yeah, a wife would make you more appealing to the public. They'll more so sympathize with you. He's like, no. Regardless of political stuff, I'm in love with you. I love you, Catherine. It's oh, that's amazing. And then someone was going down on her. I was like, oh, Buckley. I was like, I guess no, anytime they've ever had sex, they made a point to show it. And it's oh, Buckley's right-hand man. I was like, oh, so Catherine is playing you. To be fair, it's I get it. She made it clear from the beginning that she was going to use him to help him. She already kind of made that clear. But it is also still the thing of, I actually kind of got suckered into believing, I figured it's a pretty pro quo thing of, yeah, I'm going to help you succeed and I'm going to, rise in comparison. But it's no, because I legitimately do believe in you. It's no, she saw a sucker. She saw an opportunity. She saw someone that she could help build up. She saw he had the raw potential. It's just someone needed to, needed some pressure to forge this coal into diamond. So he wants a big wedding, and it's just I wasn't expecting, I guess it almost feels befitting because, Mayor Blake always had Buckley in his shadow. Now Buckley has his own Buckley in the shadow. Granted, the moment, because Buckley's going to find out, Home Dude and Catherine are super going to be dead. They're going to be super dead the moment Buckley finds out. But for now, he's none the wiser. I kind of was oh man, the fact is Buckley gets his happy ending, it was no, he's secretly getting fucked over. Because I think for her, it's right, I'm going to stay by his side, let him, I wonder how long has that been going on between the two of them? that, but like her reaching out to Buckley was probably like something they concocted from the beginning. Maybe even him working underneath Buckley was her choice. Like, hey, get close to him, get in a dated deal. Then I'm gonna come out of nowhere when he needs me the most. Or like, I'm curious like how long that's been a thing. Was it after she got into Buckley's life that they hooked up, or we don't know how long that's been going on. If it's been going on longer, that's even worse because that means they've been manipulating him for a very long time. Like all of this has been put in advance that far in advance was being handled that way. If it's at least like right after she met Buckley, it sucks, but it's like, okay, so it wasn't planned. It just happened. But now they are planning going forward of like, right, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to be his wife, and all the political power he gets kind of comes back to me. Now, I don't know if that's a thing of Catherine's like, once he's in a powerful position, I'll kill him. And as the widow, I'll get a lot of pull and power from that. We'll see. And speaking of power, we also have Leary, where we find out, yeah, boy is taking advantage of Strickland's absence now, and he's making a deal with that guy Pearson. It's like, yeah, so this is what's going to happen. Strickland's deals are going to go down, like his going to kind of get screwed up, because it's like not only the railroad thing, but I have the knowledge of, well, Strickland's not around anymore, and his investors are going to get a little itchy, so hey, we should be partners, which I love. Pearson's like, partners? I don't. He's like, great. I knew you would agree. We should celebrate. I was like, I love that. So Leary's taking advantage of this situation and coming out on top. So it's just interesting to see how these power dynamics, to see them having all flipped upside down, kind of all going 180s in some capacity. Once again, some people are thriving at the end of the season, other people at the bottom of the barrel. So at the time we're recording this, it hasn't been announced whether or not there will be a new season after this. Fingers crossed. Come on, the show had like gotten canceled, but brought back for season 3. Like, don't let it end here. I don't even want just one more season. I hope the show gets to go for like at least 2 seasons. Get that sweet 5. But if you want to just give me 4, at least give me 4. I hope for 5, but if you want to be able to just give me 4, then just give me 4. I think it'd be beautiful. The show was originally ran for 2 seasons, went away, but came back for like 3 and 4. I think it'd be perfect in that regard. Granted, once again, I'd love a season 5, but because it also depends on how the story plays out, because there's still many threads. Because some of the main creator forces behind the show have said like, oh, they've got many ideas involved. So, because let's not forget, the SAG, AFTRA, and WGA strike are still ongoing. The WGA are still in the negotiation process after meeting up again for the first time with the studios in in that 100+ days they had like met up for the first time in the negotiation process. So now from last update I've heard was like they are looking over what the studio has countered with and deciding from there what they're gonna. So a lot of these shows that are probably in this in-between area are probably going to be heavily affected by the longer this goes on, but probably like the aftermath of it all. I mean, we don't know how. At the end of the day, can't stress this enough. I need to bring it up more and more. And since I am talking about it, actors and writers deserve to be paid the living wages. They deserve to be paid what they're owed. Like, if you're a part of something that is successful, then you deserve to reap the benefits of it, especially in this landscape of where the residual conversation currently is. Once again, I feel like I should probably bring that up in the regards right now, because I know that's going to have a heavy impact in the show. Once again, fingers crossed that for one, when this is all said and done, that the show comes back for another season, but everyone is getting properly paid what they are owed and what they are worth, hopefully. So I'd love to see season 4. Like I said, I'd love to see a season 5 as well, but hopefully the show does get to continue, because I'd love to see where all this goes. All I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.